Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the opening today. My name is Tom Mennel, and I'm the chair of the board of the Canadian Clay and Glass Gallery. And it's certainly always great. It's an exciting time to have an opening, and we have some wonderful exhibitions for us to look at today. We have Common Uncommon by Lynn, which is in the Chance Gallery, and The Natural History of Utopias by Thorkelson in the Wright Gallery. And you'll have a chance for Sheila McMath, who's the curator of these shows, to talk a little bit more about that and hear from the artists. But certainly, we are honored to have them here. We think, it's wonderful shows, and we sure hope that you do enjoy them. We are a gallery, we're a public gallery, and we're certainly reliant upon our donors, our sponsors, our members, and our funders. And our funders would include the Ontario Arts Council, the Canada Council for the Arts, and the City of Waterloo. And for this exhibition, we're particularly thankful to the Musagetes Fund, which is held at the Kitchener and Waterloo Community Foundation, for their support of this exhibition. Also, you may have noticed in the foyer gallery on the way in, there is an exhibition on firm ground, which our Executive Director, Bill Poole, will talk more about. And that's part of, or done in collaboration with the Mush Hole Project. And Bill, again, will speak to that. We do have some other board members here, and I'd like to acknowledge them. Judy Donaldson and Councillor Angela Veith from the City of Waterloo, who's our representative on our board, is here as well. And thank you to them for being here. I'd like now to introduce you to our Executive Director, Bill Poole, who will talk more about On Firm Ground. Bill?
Thank you, Tom. Welcome, everybody. If I may, I'd like to, before I begin, just recognize a few people who are here who are special. Robert Jekyll, who's made the trip from Toronto, whose work is, his stained glass work is part of our permanent collection, and who has an award named for him for leadership in craft. And in September 2015, Anne Roberts was a recipient of that award in Quebec City. And Robert told me today that he and Lynn were inducted into the RCA at the same time. So Robert, welcome. We're delighted to have you here today. I'd also like to recognize Koen van der Stucken, who is the head of the glass program at Sheridan College. And I know that Lou and Ione went and spoke to his students on Thursday, was it? And I know that was a big success, and many of us went a week ago Saturday to the glass gathering at Sheridan and had a great time. And you heard it here first, but Koen will be coming here on November 23rd. You'll all be invited, 7:30 p.m., to do a book launch of his new book on glass, as you would imagine. So we'll look forward to that. I'd also like to recognize Lucy Worley and Brendan, who are here. Lucy has been a sponsor of events in the past and will be again in the coming year. So welcome both. I hope in doing that I haven't, if I see anybody storming out, I'll know that I missed recognizing them. So I apologize if I have, but I wanted to welcome those special people. I also want to begin, if I may, by acknowledging that we are gathered here today on territory that was part of the Great Dish, land that was shared by the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. The Canadian Clay and Glass Gallery is situated on the Haldimand Tract, the land ceded from the Crown to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. And that appropriate acknowledgement, I believe to be appropriate, ties in nicely with Pat Dedman's exhibition. And it is, as Tom mentioned, you would have seen it on the way in, and I hope you'll have a chance to have a careful look on the way out. As he said, it's On Firm Ground, a reposition of being. And most of you will know that Pat Dedman served as our guest curator here during the year that Sheila was on maternity leave, and fulfilled the duties that go with that job, and including doing a wonderful exhibition called Tributaries that was here from March till June. And during the course of the time that Pat was here, she and I, but really because she was here, got involved in the Mush Hole project that Tom referenced, and also what's being called an Integrating Knowledges Summit that will be held at the University of Waterloo October 14, 15, 16. So Pat very kindly agreed to be on the curatorial committee for the Mushhole project, and you can only imagine how excited people were that they had a very distinguished artist and independent curator join their curatorial committee, who also happens to be First Nations heritage. So if I may, then I will just read a little bit to try to connect all those dots for you. Just to read a little bit from the didactic panel that's in the lobby. On June 2, 2015, the Honorable Justice Murray Sinclair released the final report of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. In response to this report, the Mushhole Project, Articulations of Conciliation and Reconciliation at Canada's First Residential School, was established with numerous project collaborative partners, collective contributors, and the support of the University of Waterloo and the Ontario Arts Council. The residential schools across Canada were government-sponsored religious institutions established to assimilate Aboriginal children into Euro-Canadian culture. In 1934, the Mohawk Institute, which since 1972 has been the Woodland Cultural Centre, was opened and became known, not the Woodland Cultural Centre, but the Mohawk Institute, established in 1834, became known as the Mushhole in reference to the food. That's how bad the food was. And the Mushhole Project is an immersive, site-specific art and performance installation event taking place at the Woodland Cultural Centre in Brantford, Ontario, September 16, 17, 18, 2016. So that has just taken place now. And a few of us, Judy and Ron Donaldson, are here, and I were at the opening of that on Friday night, and it was really quite a powerful and remarkable experience. There was also on the Thursday night at the Art Gallery of Guelph. There was a sculpture in the sculpture garden by a man named Don Collins, a circle mound, which was an installation which would be a kind of a gathering place. And so that really, effect on the Thursday night last week, launched the Mushhole Project. And again, this will now, Pat's work will, and in the exhibition, will provide a link to the summit in October. And as you'll see when you go there, there are gorgeous ceramic works, really from two families, the Smith family from Six Nations, Steve Smith, his wife Lee, and daughter Santi, and as well Anne and her daughter Anong Beam. So with that, I invite you, of course, to pay attention to that and enjoy Pat's exhibition, but now we'll introduce my colleague Sheila McMath, our curator, who will move on to the opening of the other exhibitions. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank the two artists we've come to celebrate this afternoon, Boomin and Thorkelson. Boomin's exhibition, called Common Uncommon, received support from the Canada Council for the Arts and the British Columbia Arts Council. She also has an exhibition called Tools as Artifacts on view at David Kay Gallery in Toronto until September 25th. Lynn has twice been nominated for the Governor-General's Award, Sadie Brockman Award for Excellence in Fine Craft, and in 2010 was inducted into the Royal Canadian Academy of Arts. Ian Thorkelson's exhibition, A Natural History of Utopias, received support from the Canada Council for the Arts, as well as the Manitoba Arts Council. In 2007, Ian was inducted into the Royal Canadian Academy of Arts, and in 2010 she was awarded the Sadie Brockman Award, one of 8 Governor-General's Visual Arts Awards. As I make note of the accolades received by both artists, it follows naturally for me to say that working with artists of this caliber has been and is an honor. I've carefully watched the careers of both Lou and Ione for well over 15 years. And, excuse me, and when both confirmed that they were available to show at this time, I was truly delighted. It's been a pleasure to work with Lou and Ione over the past few years as we discussed and shaped these exhibitions. I also sense, from spending time with Lou, and I own over the past few days, that they have enjoyed spending time together. They've had many conversations about the shared experience of working over many decades. And these conversations are an essential and integral part of why this gallery exists. When artists build strong and supportive relationships together, it sets the stage for so many other positive outcomes in the larger arts community. So now I'd like to invite Lou and Ione up to speak about their respective exhibitions. We'll start with Lou and have Ione come. Thanks. Please stay afterward and ask questions of the artists.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming this afternoon. As Sheila mentioned, we have received funding from both the BC Arts Council and Canada Council, and I want to just say we as artists could not mount these kinds of shows without that kind of support. I want to thank the staff at the Canadian Clay and Glass Gallery. Everybody's just been right on their game. Anything they could do to help us, it's been lovely, so that's good. And particularly hats off to Sheila. Sheila and I worked long and hard to establish the layout of how the show was going to flow and the sight lines and so forth. So it always amazes me after it's done. It looks so simple. While we're doing it, it's another matter. At any rate, we won't speak long today, but we are available to answer questions. And I'll say about my work that, as the name suggests, common uncommon, I am interested in mundane objects that people use. I live on a rural acreage in southeastern British Columbia, and over time I've thought, I wonder if I would make the same kind of art in the city. And to that I don't know, but certainly working with my hands is sort of both in my art and daily life is a common thing. All of the objects that you see here are sometimes inspired by real objects and sometimes not, but they have that suggested reference to function, I think you'll see. At the front of the gallery, you'll see the utensil series and a couple of other pieces dotted from that sort of basic time, the twisted spoon and the berry scoop. Later on, we move into the pieces on the wall, fasteners that were part of what I call the button series, and the buttons are in the huge button box and in the tower. And then finally, at the other end of the gallery, and here we have, just by the windows at the front, pieces that came after the button series. I thought, what happens after buttons? And indeed, some buckles came about, and then some tools that were inspired by the textile industry. Prior to the work behind me, the kitchen series, the work all sort of referenced, and the work at David's referenced tools that would have been used mostly by men, and I didn't really think about that at first, but they would have been. So we've made a departure here, and I hope you enjoy the show, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ione. I guess you probably know that. I live in rural Manitoba. Thank you. Okay. Lou and I didn't know each other very well before we came, and we know each other quite well now. And we've discovered many links in our lives. We do things similarly, but our work is quite different. I live in a rural area in Manitoba, and you'll notice when you see my work that a lot of the materials come from that area. My influences come from further afield, and there's an artist statement and a commentary on the wall in the gallery that I'd ask you to have a look at if you're interested. I also use the internet to provide context to my work, so my name comes up alone on the internet, if you could spell it right. I don't have to worry about other people with my name. So thank you very much for coming, and I would also like to thank the Canadian Clay and Glass Gallery, and the staff here have been amazing to work with. And there's a lot of people working to support this gallery and to improve the gallery now that it's reaching its 25th year. So thank you very much for coming. I would like to especially say thank you to Sheila we've had a lot of dragged her out of baby time to answer questions all winter. And thank you very much for putting up with us and all our questions. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the shows.
So that ends the informal, formal proceedings. So I'd invite you to have a glass of wine or water and enjoy the food. And Ione's work, as you know, is in the Douglas Wright Gallery, and Lou is here. And I know that they either would be delighted to speak to you and answer any questions. And thank you again for coming.
Okay, I'm Ione Thorkelson. I live in a rural area of Manitoba, south and west of Winnipeg. I started out a long time ago, like 45 years ago. I started out as a glass blower and moved into casting and did both blowing and casting for a while in the 1990s, and now do pretty exclusively cast glass. I tell people that my ideas come from the glass, that the pieces actually come out of the glass, but I'll be reading things or finding things out or talking to people about things, and recently it's been scientific discoveries mostly, primarily about synthetic life that have been influencing the way I think. But then when I go into the studio, it's actually working with the material that materializes the object that I'm making. It doesn't come very directly from an idea. It's more, there are actually people now studying thinking with your hands, and it's very much, craftspeople talk about thinking with your hands a lot, and I'm very firmly based in craft. The pieces for this particular exhibit come from several different series I did. The biggest part of the show is from a series called Corrections, which is basically tree roots. But then when I started assembling works and putting works together, they seemed to develop other ideas or to firm out the ideas that had already been evident in some of the shows. And I actually thought on paper that these pieces all came together into a body of work, and it was actually when we got the pieces up in the gallery I realized it really was working. It did fit with the natural history of utopias that I had named it. Yes, I think my next show will be in Winnipeg, but I'm just confirming the details of that at the moment. Other than that, I don't have shows booked at the moment.
Okay. I should write her name down.
Thank you. It was good having you, and congratulations. This is going to be lovely.
And we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, my name is Lynn. I'm an artist from British Columbia. I work sculpturally with glass and bronze and other materials. The work that I make is inspired by, inspired by useful objects. Notably, it's inspired by tools. In the case of this exhibition, there's also a large presence of work that's been inspired by buttons, too. Okay, this is the third, well, this is the variations of this exhibition. The wall of buttons and some of the tools have been shown in Quebec City and in Nelson, British Columbia, and then here. And then some of the work is entirely new, and that's the work that is inspired by textile tools.